Our story begins on Coruscant 24 standard hours after Jedi Master Mace Windu's pursuit of crime lord Torque Sorio came to a sudden halt. Windu has been tracking and following Sorio for months, as the crime lord has been stealing coaxium from different refinement facilities, and Windu was on the case to stop it. Coaxium is a very raw and explosive hypermatter used to help power hyperspace jumps, and Sorio has secretly been enhancing the matter to make it work even better so ships could jump to speeds never before seen, but in turn, the coaxium becomes much more explosive and highly illegal. Windu needed to stop Sorio from creating more of it before it got people in danger, and after losing the crime lord last night in the streets of Coruscant, Windu had Jedi spies spread all around the Outer Rim, camping out near potential buyers. And on Tatooine, Jedi Master Deba Balaba would be spying on Jabba's palace when she overheard rumors that Jabba was looking to buy this enhanced coaxium. Windu would thank Deba for her assistance, and he would take over the mission from here, flying right to Tatooine. At this point in the timeline, there was a darkness rising in the furthest corners of the galaxy, but the dark side users have not yet revealed themselves to the Jedi. Plagueis has returned to galactic politics as Hago Damask. Sidious serves as the Senator of Naboo. The Sith plans to send a blockade to Naboo are set to go into effect in about 3 months. But could revelations and surprises from the Outer Rim begin to shift their plans? On Tatooine, Windu eventually would land in the Mos Espa spaceport, and he would scour the borders of the city. Windu knew Jabba's patterns. He wasn't going to bring someone with such a valuable, explosive product right into his castle. He would do business in a crowd of people to make everything seem normal. But Windu knew what Sorio looked like, and as he stood on a tall building, reaching out into the Force, he began looking into the crowds with his binoculars. After an hour without any luck, Windu saw him. Torque Sorio was meeting with Bib Fortuna in between a junk shop and a few rows of small homes that Windu realized likely belonged to slaves. Just as Windu suspected, the deal was taking place in the middle of town. Any interference would put many people in danger, but Windu could not let Sorio escape. He's been after him for far too long, and once all the coaxium was given to Bib Fortuna and Sorio began to leave, Windu began silently chasing him. He would take down Sorio first, then he would get the coaxium, he decided. Sorio got to his ship, a rather large freighter, but still made for one person and their supplies, and as the ship rose and the ramp lowered, Windu would leap high into the air, landing on the ramp. Sorio immediately saw Windu. He took off, using evasive moves to try and throw Windu off of the ramp. Windu held on to a railing, igniting his lightsaber, telling Sorio to surrender before things get even more ugly for him. Sorio swerved the ship, flipping it upside down. Windu held his ground, and when Sorio flew the ship above a busy part of the town, the same area where the sail just went down, Windu wondered what the plan could be. With a laugh, Sorio pulled out a small canister of coaxium. He told Windu he would have to make a choice. Sorio threw it out of the side window, and Windu knew that coaxium this confined and raw was essentially just a large bomb. Windu frustratedly threw his lightsaber, spinning into the ship. It stabbed right through the pilot's chair, impaling Sorio through the back, killing him. Windu then rolled backwards, braced the ramp with his legs, and dangled upside down out of the ship, reaching his hands out to try and catch the coaxium, but it was too late. The split-second decision to stop Sorio cost Windu the time he needed, and the coaxium crashed into the busy area. The explosion was wicked. In a matter of seconds, dozens of homes were ripped apart, along with the junk shop that was once owned by the Toydarian who died in this explosion. Windu would drop to the ground, emotionally numb, as he realized what he has done. Dozens of people were killed in the blast, and whatever Mos Espa had for emergency fire and rescue began hurrying to the area. Windu was moving from destroyed home to home, finding 0 survivors, until he found one room, largely undamaged. In the main area of this home, a 40-year-old woman was dead, but in the side room, a boy around 9 or 10 years old was still alive, trembling, staring down at his own hands. Windu quickly realized what has happened here. This boy has the Force, and sometimes, when the Force goes undiscovered in someone when they are young, it can just explode out of them in a sudden, instinctual moment. This is what has happened with the young Anakin Skywalker. Anakin used the Force to stop the explosion from reaching him. It would have taken great power to do something like this with 0 training. Windu grabbed the boy's hand, guiding him away from the fire and rubble. Anakin was in shock, but he wanted to go back to his mother. Windu just kept guiding Anakin forward, saying that he needs medical help. Being a slave, Anakin wasn't exactly entitled to great medical care, but Windu would see to it that Anakin gets what he needs, using a Jedi mind trick on the medical workers. That was how Anakin realized that Windu was a Jedi. So, for Anakin, in the most heartbreaking and scary moments of his life, he actually felt safer with a Jedi around him now. If Windu wasn't here, Anakin would have felt so alone, so scared, and Windu sat near Anakin as he went through medical treatment to reveal he was alright. Windu would look to Anakin with a stone-cold expression, telling the boy that he has the Force. That is what has saved his life, and if he were discovered earlier in his life, he may have become a Jedi. But because of his age and this explosion of power, Windu told Anakin he will instead be sent away to a planet far from here, a planet that is friendly to the Jedi. Windu told Anakin he will have friends and a newfound family on this planet. And then Windu got up to leave. Anakin couldn't believe it. He ran after Windu, grabbing his robes, saying he wants to go with him. He wants to be a Jedi like him. But Windu just shook him off, telling Anakin that this life is not meant for him. Anakin watched Mace Windu walk away into the city, and a transport pilot would tell Anakin that it's time to get ready to go. Mace was supposed to leave right away, go report this mission with the Council, but he couldn't do it. Not yet. He felt so guilty about choosing to kill his enemy instead of saving the people first. What was he thinking? His choice resulted in so many deaths, along with an orphaned boy. The guilt stung Windu so badly that he stepped into the Mos Espa cantina and had a drink, then another, and one more. He was about to request another when Windu overheard one of the patrons nearby saying that Jabba the Hutt was auctioning off a boy, a former slave of his that was revealed to be some sort of Jedi. The rumor was that the boy was involved in the Mos Espa explosion, and he used the Force to save himself. Windu felt his stomach drop. How could he be so foolish? Of course the boy was captured in this lawless town. Windu threw some credits on the bar, sprinted out of the cantina, leaping from roof to roof, running through the town until he found the transport that Anakin was supposed to leave on. Outside of it, the pilot was dead, and 4 pairs of footsteps led out to where Jabba's castle was. Windu clenched his hands, understanding he has failed this boy. He promised himself that he would get him back from whoever tries to buy him. In Jabba's castle, the Hutt crime lord knew exactly who to contact first about this boy. Jabba was one of the few people who knew of the Sith, and most notably, knew about Darth Plagueis. The two had met a few times, and in exchange for political favor, Plagueis made sure that Gardulla the Hutt lost Tatooine, so Jabba could take over. Jabba felt he still owed Plagueis, so he reached out to the Sith, telling him about this boy. Plagueis was extremely intrigued, and he told Jabba that his apprentice will be coming to buy the boy for whatever price Jabba asks. Inside of Jabba's castle, Anakin Skywalker was scared beyond belief. He felt abandoned, and was really coming to grips with losing his mother. He remembered the Jedi, and Anakin wished the legends were true about the Jedi, that they were really around to help people like him. Outside the castle, as the twin suns eventually began to set, Mace Windu would be perched behind a large rock, waiting for the buyer to arrive. And finally, he would. The buyer arrived in a heavily modified Star Courier, red lights lighting up the area, and from the ramp came a hooded man. As Windu watched him, he felt a suffocating darkness in the Force, as if this man were just breathing the dark side like oxygen. And as Windu waited, he recalled the many warnings from Jedi like Qui-Gon, Dooku, Sifo-Dyas. They all said that a darkness was rising, and Windu had been too blind to see it. Windu now saw that they were right, and perhaps today he could make up for his lack of foresight by taking down this dark side warrior. Inside the castle, Darth Sidious would pay Jabba a hefty sum for selling this young boy to the Sith instead of putting him up for auction. Sidious would take the shackled, scared boy out into the sand towards the ship. Anakin was too scared to speak. He just followed, feeling hopeless, until his prayers were answered. From just behind the ramp, a purple lightsaber would ignite, and Windu told Sidious to let the boy go. Under the hood, Senator Palpatine immediately recognized Windu. This was not a confrontation he'd expected for many more years, but Windu's death could easily be explained in this wasteland of a planet. Sidious didn't waste time with talk. He ignited his red blade, and he struck first, spinning in a blur of movement. As his saber slashed through the air, Mace responded with a vicious strike of his own, channeling the power of Vapad. Windu had just recently truly mastered this lightsaber form that he had created. He came down with a strike, but Sidious leapt backwards with an unnatural twist, throwing his saber at Windu's ankles as he landed. Windu deflected low, saber spinning back into Sidious's hand, and the Sith Lord followed with a surge of speed, striking again and again. Mace's blade was a part of him now. Every block was sharper. His swings were erratic, Vapad guiding his hand, turning his fear for Anakin into raw aggression. His footwork adapted to the loose sand, sliding when needed, using the unstable footing to roll into a shoulder slam, knocking Sidious towards a jagged rock. Sidious landed hard, but his fingers now sparked with lightning. He hurled it at Windu, who deflected the first bolt with his blade, but the next blast seared his shoulder. He dropped to a knee as Sidious closed in, but Mace gritted his teeth, slamming his palm into the sand, sending up a blast of force energy that ruptured the dune into a cloud of dust. In the chaos, he vaulted forward, purple blade slicing across Sidious's chest, enough to knock the Sith Lord back to the ground. Sidious used the pain as fuel, surging forward, blade spinning like a buzzsaw, trying to overwhelm Windu with sheer speed. But Mace met every blow as he let the darkness twist around him, and with a sudden swipe, he caught Sidious's wrist mid-swing, cutting right through it. And then, as Sidious screamed in anger and pain, Mace leapt high into the air, twisting once above Sidious, before landing behind him, driving his blade through his back. The Sith Lord let out one final rasp, eyes wide with disbelief, before collapsing face first into the sand. A second later, dozens of blaster bolts whizzed right past Windu. Jabba's guards saw the fight and were coming to kill Windu. Windu reached down, removing the hood of this warrior. He froze, and he saw the face of Senator Palpatine, one of the most respected and beloved senators in the entire galaxy. He was this dark warrior. Windu knew what had to be done. He had to get back to Coruscant, tell the Jedi and the Senate about this. Anyone close to Palpatine must be removed from power immediately. Mace got to the ship. He was about to guide Anakin inside of it when he saw it. A rocket was launched from the castle, and Windu had just enough time to grab Anakin and dive down a nearby hill as the rocket slammed into Sidious's ship. The ship exploded, and Windu rolled down the hill next to Anakin. When they came to a stop, Windu immediately grabbed Anakin and took off deep into the never-ending desert as countless blaster bolts continued to whiz by them. Windu was blocking them as he and Anakin ran away with nowhere to go, sprinting deep into the sands, using the constant hills as cover. Inside of his castle, Jabba would quickly contact Darth Plagueis with this news. A Jedi Master has killed the Sith Sentier and has taken Anakin away. Plagueis was beyond angry at Sidious's failure, but he would adjust to this, and for now, he told Jabba to make sure that Windu and the boy die, or Tatooine will be taken from Jabba, along with every single credit to his name. Jabba understood, and he would hire every single working person in the Tatooine system to kill Windu and the boy. And as the Tatooine night eventually got old, Mace Windu didn't look back. He grabbed Anakin's hand, helping him up as they climbed a ridge and disappeared into the sands. The boy hadn't said a word since the blast. There was no plan between them, no map, no allies, just two hunted people walking towards nowhere as 1,000 hunters were seemingly closing in on them. Eventually, they found shelter under a collapsed moisture silo, and through the night, Windu would keep his saber close as Anakin was curled up a few feet away, finally falling asleep. For a while, Windu stared up to the stars and wondered how he was going to get out of here. There was an awkward tension between him and Anakin, as Windu did just try to send Anakin away, but Anakin didn't know the full truth. Every time Windu looked at Anakin, he saw his own failures. He saw how he chose to kill Sorio instead of saving the people, instead of saving Anakin's own mother. But all Windu could do now was stay with the boy until they could both get out of here alive. The first bounty hunter would find them on the third day in the sand. It was a Rodian with rusted armor and a scattergun trying to pick them off while they scavenged a forgotten transport ship. Windu took him down in seconds, but not without making a lot of noise and attracting more hunters. And from then on, every fire they lit had to be hidden. Every step they took could leave no trail. It was terrible out here, and Windu and Skywalker only had each other to truly rely on. Windu taught Anakin how to stay silent during junk raids, how to track footprints in the ever-shifting sand. The boy would mimic Windu's stance, his breathing, his mindset, all of it. And one night, Windu even caught Anakin trying to meditate alone, eyes closed, legs crossed in the sand. Anakin obviously had no idea what he was doing, but Windu would just let him be. And the boy was surprisingly strong after losing his mother, and in the rare times that Anakin did talk about her, he would just say that Shmi was still watching from the stars. He wants to be strong for her. Every week, Windu would try and create a plan of escape, but every time it got going, hunters from every corner came and stopped them. It was seemingly impossible. Windu knew their only choice was to wait it out. Days, weeks, months, whatever it took, they just had to wait for the bounty hunters to eventually assume that Windu and Anakin have died out in the desert. Sometimes the two of them would trade labor for food, water, shelter. Anakin would fix engines for a grumpy Jawa clan, while Windu stood guard. Other times, Windu would work for local smugglers repairing power grids, always under a fake name. It was a slow, uneasy rhythm as the days would pass by. There were days when Anakin and Mace barely spoke, but when they did, it always seemed to matter. And one night, after escaping a group of Klatooinian hunters in the Junlan Wastes, they laid in a dusty cave, both breathing hard, and Anakin finally asked why the man with the red blade wanted him so badly, and Windu told him all about the Sith, the Jedi, the Force, the Republic. He didn't talk down to Anakin, and over the weeks, their connection grew into something even more real. As they hid, Windu started teaching Anakin how to feel the Force. He taught Anakin how to notice it, the way it can ripple before danger, the calm and the peace in silence, the way all things breathe together. Anakin soaked it in, and soon Anakin was calling him Master. Windu would pause before responding, as he hadn't really asked for that, but he didn't correct Anakin either. He began to see that, maybe, Anakin could be a Jedi after all, and by the end of the 3rd month on the run, Windu still didn't know what the future held, or how they would ever make it work. They were constantly hungry, thirsty, on the run, but they were trying to work together. Windu knew he would protect Anakin Skywalker, no matter what. He felt he owed it to the boy, and because, somehow, in the middle of this cursed desert, they'd become something like family. Anakin lost his mother, but he now did see Windu like a father figure, and though Mace never said it out loud, he felt it every time the boy looked up at him, with real trust in his eyes. He felt that this child could be the most important thing he'd ever done. But deep down, there was always a struggle to truly connect. Windu couldn't allow himself to form an attachment, and Anakin always remembered Windu leaving him on Tatooine to be taken to a random planet. So one night, Anakin confronted Windu on this. The two of them had gotten closer. Anakin wanted to know how Windu could ever have just left him behind. Windu and Anakin argued for a while, and eventually, Windu couldn't hold the truth in any longer. He snapped, yelling that it's his own fault, that Anakin's mother died. He made a choice that resulted in her death, and Mace said he couldn't bear to look at Anakin after he basically got his mother killed. Mace admitted he was weak. That's why he sent Anakin away. He couldn't face the truth. Anakin just sat silently with Windu. He knew him well by now. He knew Windu was an amazing Jedi, and deep down, he was an even better person behind the countless emotional walls he's had to build up as a Jedi. Anakin did forgive Windu. He blamed the crime lord that Windu was hunting, and it felt like a huge weight was lifted off of Windu's shoulders. And after these months of hiding, the hunters were beginning to give up. Anakin and Windu were largely assumed to be dead in the desert, and this would allow an escape plan to finally get underway. It would involve both Anakin and Windu putting immense trust in each other. Anakin would find a garage with pod racers inside, and he would convince Windu to please let him fly one. The plan would be set. Windu would soon give Anakin a proud, trusting nod, and Anakin would spark the engines of one of the pod racers near Jabba's palace. A second later, he would tear through the sands like a bolt of lightning. As the pod ripped through the outer borders of Hutt territory, patrol ships lit up their scanners. Within minutes, bounty hunters launched from canyon hideouts and cliffside platforms all around, at least 10 of them chasing Anakin's racer that dared cross the airspace. All of these were speeders or pod racers. None of them were really aircrafts. Blaster fire flew through the air, and Anakin sped his racer low, weaving through huge dunes and old shipwrecks, his hands locked on the controls, knowing where Windu was waiting. And in the chaos behind him, Windu was able to enter into Jabba's main hangar. The distraction had worked. Guards were rushing to turrets, and no one noticed the cloaked Jedi slip aboard the fire spray gunship resting in the center of the hangar. Windu moved through the cockpit, overriding the system in seconds, finding out this ship got here just hours ago, as a bounty hunter was working a job for Jabba. Either way, the ship would jerk around, and Windu knew it was now or never as he maneuvered his way out of here. Down below, Anakin's pod screeched toward a canyon edge. Jagged rocks were cutting through the horizon. There was no path forward, only a huge, never-ending drop into a ravine below. But Anakin didn't slow down. He closed his eyes, and despite his pod racer and the ones behind him having no way of flying over this canyon, he flew right over the edge. His pod launched over the cliff, spinning violently, and repulsors were failing mid-air. The hunters behind him didn't know where Anakin was leading, so they just followed right behind. One by one, their ships soared over the edge, but only Anakin stopped mid-air. All of the speeders, all of the pod racers couldn't handle the air. They were crashing into the ravine. And on the other side of the canyon, as Anakin was stuck in mid-air, Windu was here as he'd caught Anakin. He lifted him up, and inside of the stolen ship in one smooth motion as the pods and the speeders crashed far below, the bounty hunters going right with them. Inside the ship, Anakin was breathless as Windu sealed the ramp. The ship lifted high into the air, and Windu would drop a seismic charge to kill the many pursuers behind them as finally Windu and Anakin could jump to Coruscant, making their escape. And this escape would get in the way of the Sith plans. Jabba the Hutt was trying to contact Hago Damask, aka Plagueis, many times, but Plagueis was not responding. Instead, he was preparing for his speech to become co-chancellor, after manipulating Valorum to give him this title after Damask orchestrated the takedown of the Trade Federation over Naboo. It was all a ploy to give Damask this power, and he did slip up a bit. The Jedi were suspicious of him, but little did Damask know that Windu made his way back to Coruscant with the truth. The entire Jedi Council, already suspicious, would hear that Palpatine was a Sith. They all knew that Damask was once Palpatine's closest advisor. So, As Plagueis left his suite to head to the Senate, he would instead be met by Yoda, Mace Windu, Depa Billaba Plo Koon, and Ki-Adi Mundi. The fall of Darth Plagueis would come quickly in the dark streets of Coruscant. He would put up a fight, killing Ki-Adi Mundi, but the others would survive and kill the Sith Lord, and they would present the red blades of Palpatine and Damask to the Senate, proclaiming the truth that they were working against the Republic. And over the next many years, with Plagueis and Sidious dead, their web of corruption unraveled before it ever reached full scale. The Republic was forced to reckon with its own failures. Many senators would step down or were removed. In their place came younger voices, shaped by the fear of what had almost happened. In Jedi Council meetings, Windu would call upon Qui-Gon Jinn, Sifo Dyas, and Dooku as they would begin building something new as a Jedi Order. It was a Jedi path, separate from the Republic. It was a return to purpose. The Jedi were spread out across the galaxy, building temples on forgotten worlds, helping systems that had long gone ignored like Tatooine. Over these years, Windu would indeed train Anakin Skywalker as a true Jedi, with genuine care and focus. Their bond had started as necessary for survival, but over time, it was truly something deeper. Windu still held the discipline of a Jedi Master, but the lines between mentor and father blurred every day. He taught Anakin every lightsaber form, and Anakin would eventually learn Vapad just like Windu. He would learn the currents of the Force, how to use it without fear or obsession. Anakin, in turn, would help Windu to soften more, to laugh more, and trust more, to see that the Jedi do not need to sever their emotions to stay strong. And Windu chose to raise and train Anakin like a person with life experience outside of the Jedi Order. It didn't make the path any easier. Arguments were frequent, training was intense, but they loved each other, and Anakin would become a great Jedi. The future was always uncertain. Whispers of unrest still stirred in corners of the galaxy. The Republic was healing, but slowly. They would go on missions to Tatooine, and they would finally get the coaxium that was delivered at the beginning of all of this. Things were good. Qui-Gon, Dooku, Yoda, Plo Koon, and Sifo Dyas were among the best leaders of the new Jedi Order outside of politics. And in this galaxy, Anakin Skywalker stood at the edge of a cliff beside his teacher, ready for whatever would come next. He and Windu continued through the galaxy, taking down threats as master and apprentice. And folks, that is our story for today. Don't tell anyone, but it's my second time recording because the audio got effed up the first time, so hopefully this is still coming to you at a decent hour during the day, or tomorrow, just depending on when it gets done. But yeah, I really do like this story. If I was ever gonna have one story to read twice, I guess it'd be this one, because I really did like it. So, I don't know, I'm a sucker for the old Mandalorian Last of Us, where it's a reluctant father figure with a little child thing, so did that with Windu and Anakin, because why not? I've probably, what have I done? 1 million stories. I mean, I've maybe done this before, but I don't know, it felt fresh to me, and when I can have a story feel really fresh, it's good. So yeah, hope you guys liked it as well. Let me know down below in the comments what you thought, and let me know what you want to see next, and I'll see you in the next video.